Welcome to another episode of MrLopezClasses.com. This is the chapter 2 of our gasoline engines class, inboards and outboards. This is the episode number 3, and today we are going to talk about the analysis of the combustion chamber in inboards and outboards. Yes, to analyze the combustion chamber, we can use 3 techniques. We can do the compression test. We can do the cylinder leak analysis and the vacuum at the intake manifold, the vacuum test. Compression test, cylinder leak analysis, and vacuum test. The compression test is in the combustion chamber. The cylinder leak test is in the combustion chamber, and the vacuum test is at the intake manifold, in between the throttle body and the intake valves. We are going to check how is the suction according with the parameters recommended by the manufacturer in the service manual. Yeah. To do the compression test, I recommend check the service manual. No, because a friend of mine said that the pressure should be around 150 psi. Check the book. Believe me, each manufacturer have a different recommendations in relation to the compression test. This is the most common, the compression test. Some people like the cylinder leak test, and other people, for special reasons, prefer the vacuum test. In what case can I need information related from the vacuum test? When I have problems with the MAP sensor, when I have problems with the MAF sensor, when I have problems related with the idle of my engine is not stable, is fluctuating. The engine is running perfect, but when I let the engine in idle, the engine stops suddenly. In those cases, the vacuum test is a good choice. In what case is good idea the compression test? The compression test is good when the engine has problems of blue smoke, black smoke, or when you try to reach the maximum RPMs, the engine it's impossible to reach the maximum RPMs, or when the load in your boat increase, the engine shut down. Or, for example, if the engine is in a generator, when you apply too much loads, more breakers, suddenly stop. This is an indication of low compression. Or, for example, in your car, if your car is moving a trailer, and when you try to move your pickup truck with the trailer, the engine goes down. This is an indication of low compression. Of course, low engine performance. In that case, the compression test is a good idea. Or the cylinder leak test. Both of them. Alright, we are going to verify each of those procedures, and we are going to analyze what happens if in one cylinder I have low compression, and we are going to try to identify if the problem is on the valves, on the piston rings, or on the head gasket. What is the procedure to do the compression test? Okay, normally in gas engines, the rule for the majority of the gas engine is the compression should be in between 120 160 psi. Yeah, this is the rule, and in diesel engines is in between 400 and 12,000 psi, depending on the diesel engine. Okay, but in this particular case, we are going to be concentrated on gasoline engines, inboards and outboards. In both of them, the procedure is too simple. we are going to remove the spark plugs. That's the procedure. We are going to remove the spark plugs, and we are going to connect this gauge, the gauge for compression test. And this gauge have different adapters depending of the thread of the spark plug. My friends, I recommend the next episode related with the analysis of spark plugs. This is a wonderful episode. Spark plugs for marine applications. You can understand the spark plugs for outboard, for inboard, the relation in between the spark plug and the coil. This is a wonderful episode that Mr. Rodriguez and me prepared for you. Okay, those are the adapters. There are different adapters depending of the thread of the spark plug. You replace the adapter and you have the compression test. Of course, the gauge for compression test in gasoline, the range is lower. This one is until 250 psi. The other one for diesel engines is more than 1000 psi. Alright, this is special for gasoline. We remove the spark plugs and we insert the pressure gauge tester. And now we are going to do 2 attempts, and we are going to copy the information in a table like this. I prepare this table in order to copy the information per each cylinder. We are going to check in this particular video what happened. Danny, now we are going to do between you and me 2 procedures. The procedure for the compression test and the procedure for the leak on the cylinder.
A leak down test, right?
Okay. And in the procedure on the compression test, I have a couple of questions in order to clarify to our students. Some people recommend, no, you can remove each spark plug and you check the compression. Normally, I prefer remove all the spark plugs at the same time. What do you prefer?
You should always remove all the spark plugs, okay?
Why?
Because the engine will spin faster and give you a better read.
Correct.
So, but here's a really important tip. Every time you're doing compression, you're taking the spark plugs out. You should always, like, if this is like the first 3 sides, this is the top cylinder, this is the middle cylinder, and this is the bottom cylinder.
Correct.
And what you can do is, by visually inspecting, you can already do a diagnosis on an engine without even doing a compression check or checking the injectors. Because let's just say, for instance, you have the number 1 cylinder looks perfect, number 2 looks really black, and number 3 looks good. Mm-hmm. Well, that would give me an indication that we have a problem on number 3 cylinder. Why is it darker than every one? Because they should all be equally burning the same.
Correct. Oh, that's
so
very...
as you're doing compression, you're actually doing diagnostics at the same time by looking at the spark plugs.
Yeah, correct. Okay, we are going to refresh concept about the procedure to do the compression test. The first step is disconnect all the spark plugs, remove the spark plugs, and put them back the spark plugs on the cable.
Right.
On the cable. And other important thing, if the engine is carbureted, disconnect the power on the coil, mm-hmm. and open the flap of the carburetor maximum.
Correct.
That's important.
Correct.
If the engine is throttle body, no problem.
Yes, throttle body.
Disconnect the coil,
right.
the power coil.
Right. What I normally do is, because if you're doing a diagnosis like that, you would use a spark checker. If you look on the screen, that's the spark checker that we use.
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So every time I do compression, I'm always hooked up my spark checker, because as I'm doing compression, I'm watching to make sure every cylinder is firing.
Oh, okay. That's.
And we'll do that in the video. We're gonna do that together. I'll show you how that works.
Because we are going to do the process right now, and we are going to check the following. If we are going to create a table like the table that we have on the screen, and we are going to do the procedure 2 times per each spark plug.
Yes.
Okay, and we are going to try first cylinder. We crank 5 times, 6 times.
Yeah.
And we read and we copy on the table in the step number 1.
Right.
And after that, we discharge the compression gauge, right. And we try again and we copy the next cylinder, next cylinder with all the
right.
cylinders. All right. At the end, we are going to analyze the situation, and we are going to check. Okay. For example, in this particular case, cylinder number 2 is a little lower in both cases. Right. In both cases, the rest of the cylinders are okay. If you have only 1 cylinder with the suspicious of low compression like this, what is the procedure to verify if the problem is on the rings or if the problem is on the valves?
Well, if it's a 4-stroke, then you would do the leak down test.
The leak. Okay, this is.
I just want to make one comment on the issue with the compression. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, you also got to make sure that when you're doing the compression, that you look and you, like you said, you do it 2 times. You want to make sure that those 2 times that they should be equal.
Correct.
Now, you don't want any more than 10% difference between cylinders.
Okay.
If there's more than 10%, there's usually a problem with that cylinder.
Yeah.
It could be scoring, rings, valves, depending what it is.
That's good. Other important recommendation is when you remove the compression tester, you added a little amount of oil in the cylinder with low compression, a little amount of motor oil, fresh oil, and you put it back the gauge again, and you crank again. If the compression rise, it's because it's piston rings.
And if it doesn't,
it's the valves.
it's the valves.
That's it.
Absolutely.
That's very important.
That's an easy test.
It's the easy
Easy
test.
test.
If you have low compression in 2 adjacent cylinders, this is typical an indication that the head gasket is
Right.
is blown.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, with that information, right now we are going to do the compression test. In what type of engines we are going to do this?
Well, we're going to do one on a Merc Cruiser,
Okay.
and then we're going to do one on an Ever E-Tech.
Okay, perfect. Let's go.
All right.
This dimension should be exactly the dimension of the thread of the spark plug. Okay, I'm going to select this hose. Now the quick connector. And now I am ready to check compression in cylinder number 1. Okay, I am going to make a jumper on the solenoid. Right, the compression in this cylinder is 110, 120, 135 psi. We are going to check again the same cylinder. I'm going to release the pressure in the back, and I am going to check the compression again in this cylinder. 135 in the first step. $135 again. And now I am going to copy those values on the table on top. And I am going to continue with the next cylinder. Let me explain something. We are going to analyze the situation in this particular engine. We have in cylinder number 1 135 psi. In the first step. In the second one is 135 again. Cylinder number 2 120 and 120. 110, 110, 135, and 135. Alright, in the previous video, that engine was in perfect condition. 6 cylinders, 135 in all the cylinders. This is a normal wear condition. The engine have around 1,000 hours. Normally, when the engine is new one, is 150 psi. Right now, that engine is 135 equal in all of the cylinders. The engine is in good conditions, according with the amount of hours on that engine. Okay, but I am going to change the scenario in order to do the analysis properly. Suppose that in that engine, the engine that we check in real local marine, suppose that the cylinder number 1 in the first attempt is 135, the second one is 135, The second cylinder is around 120, the cylinder number 3 is around 110, and the cylinder number 4 is once again 135. Suppose that this is a 4-cylinder engine, and those are the results for the compression test. Okay, in this particular case, I have 2 adjacent cylinders with low compression. When you have 2 adjacent cylinders with low compression, this is a perfect indication that the head gasket is blown and the compression pass. If you have that situation, 100% sure you have milky oil on the oil pan. If you check the dipstick, you have milky oil. This is not good, and this is an indication that the engine suffered overheating for some reasons. In that case, I recommend remove the head and verify if the head is flat. If the head is flat with the metallic ruler, you remember in our diesel class. And if the head is not flat, you need to send the head to the matching shop in order to repair the head or replace the head according with the diagnosis from the matching shop. The matching shop have different diagnoses, and they decide if the head should be replaced, or if it's possible, cut it, the head, and replace the head gasket for a thicker gasket to compensate in order to avoid increase the compression ratio dramatically and you increase the temperature. Be careful with that. Alright, my friend, this is the scenario when 2 adjacent cylinders are with low compression. What happens if in this case only 1 cylinder is with low compression? This is 135 and this is 135, and only the cylinder number 2 have low compression, 120 and 120. Alright, in this particular case, in that particular cylinder, I need to verify if the problem is on the rings, on the piston rings, or if the problem is on the valve. One valve stay open a little and the compression goes through the valve open, or if the problem is on the head gasket. But with this procedure that I am going to explain right now, you can isolate the problem if it's piston rings or if it's valves. Okay, we are going to remove the spark plug, and we are going to add a little amount of oil through the hole of the spark plug. How much oil is a little? Is 1 ounce or 2 ounces? Is a little. It's only to cover the surface of the head of the piston and produce a good seal on that area. And right now I am going to put in back my pressure gauge tester, and I am going to crank the engine again, and I am going to verify if the pressure increase, it's because the problem is on the piston rings. If the needle stay down, low compression, is an indication that the problem is on the valves, and you need to remove the head and send the head to the matching shop. Simple. Don't forget, with a small amount of motor oil, any motor oil, the same motor oil, fresh motor oil is better. You added a little amount, you crank the engine again, and you verify if the compression rise. If the compression rise, it's because the piston rings have problems. If the compression stay down, it's because you have problems on the valves. Alright, before you remove the head, because in some cases remove the head is not easy, I recommend use the stethoscope. Enter the camera through the hole where the spark plug was located and analyze with the stethoscope the face of the piston, the cylinder walls. Take a pictures, because the majority of the new stethoscope, they have the ability to take a picture and send the picture to the customer and demonstrate to him, hey my friend, in your engine, in the cylinder number 2, you have a lot of water. Or in the cylinder number 2, a piece of metal entered and destroyed the head of the piston and the head valves. with the pictures you can take decisions, you can analyze the situation, you can verify what happened internally in the combustion chamber. It's not complicated, it's too simple. That's the simple way to do that job. Use the stethoscope. All right, other important thing before you remove the head is analyze the adjacent pistons and verify if all the pistons are in similar conditions or you have concentrated the problem only in one cylinder. Okay, after that you can remove the head, and immediately you remove the head you can verify what is the cylinder with problems. Probably you found it, like in this video, metals that enter in the combustion chamber, because in this particular case you remember the bearings were destroyed and those pieces of metal entered through the intake port into the combustion chamber and destroyed the head and the piston, both of them. In some cases the piston can be broken completely, like this picture. Yeah. Alright, this is the scenario. Right, this is the procedure to do the compression test. It's not complicated, it's simple. We are going to use the compression test several times. This is the procedure to do the compression test. Right now, I am going to explain the procedure to use the cylinder leak test. For the cylinder leak test, we are going to use this equipment. This equipment is a rail with 2 gauges. In this input we are going to connect the hose with the air coming in from the compressor of my shop, and in this gauge I am going to register the pressure of the compressor of the shop. And in this terminal I am going to connect the adapter. Once again, it's exactly the same like in the previous one. I am going to connect the adapter here in order to connect on the spark plug. I have different adapters with different threads depending of the thread of the spark plug. I'm going to connect this one to the spark plug, and I am going to read the pressure in the second gauge. The pressure in the second gauge should be stable for a couple of minutes. No decrease. Maximum 10%. If the pressure stays stable, it's because you don't have leaks in the combustion chamber. Of course, my friends, I forget say one important thing. If the engine is 4 strokes, you need bring that cylinder to the top dead center at the end of the compression when both valves are closed. You know the procedure to do that process. Alright, you need to be 100% sure that the piston is on top. You verify with any piece of metal that the piston is on top, and you verify if the engine is 4 stroke that both rocker arms are free. You remember, this is an indication that the piston is in top dead center when both rocker arms are free. Or if the engine is 2 stroke, it's not complicated. Simple, you bring the piston to top dead center and that's it, because you don't have valves. The only that you need is be sure that the engine is at top dead center. Alright, and in that moment we are going to do the following procedure. In order to check the leak on the cylinder, we are going to use the tool appropriated. This is the cylinder leak tester, and we are going to connect the spark in the hole of the spark plugs. This hose, the hose enter over there, and in the other hose we are going to apply pressure, and after that we are going to verify how much is the pressure on the cylinder. Before of that, we need bring that cylinder to top dead center with both valves closed. We need that the cylinder be in top dead center in order to check the compression in that particular cylinder. Because this is a 2-stroke engine, I am going to bring the cylinder on top, and that's it, because we don't have valves in this particular engine. In order to check if the cylinder is on top or in the bottom, I am going to check with the pen. This is in the bottom, this is in the bottom, this is on top. We can check this cylinder. now I am going to bring the pressure okay, and we are going to check if the pressure decrease over there. The pressure is 65 over there, 15 on the cylinder, 13 really.
Looks like it's leaking down slowly.
And we are going to check for a couple of minutes if the pressure decrease. The pressure right now in the cylinder is 13, continue 13. And the pressure on the cylinder is not going down, continue 13. This is an indication. Okay, it's a little going down, 12. It's not 13, it's 12. But this is an indication that that cylinder is in good conditions. Once again, in this cylinder, 60 psi at the input and 10 psi on the cylinder. This is the cylinder. And the pressure, we are going to verify if the pressure stays constant on the cylinder. The pressure stays 10 psi and is not decreasing. Normally when the cylinder is in bad conditions, the piston rings or it is to stroke the valve, immediately the needle goes down or goes down slowly. This is an indication that the compression rings are in bad condition. In this particular situation, the pressure on the cylinder stays constant. That's a good time. This is a good indication that that cylinder is also in good condition. Alright, if suddenly the pressure goes down, this is an indication that you have leaks on the cylinder, probably on the piston rings or probably on the valves if the engine is 4 strokes. This is the cylinder leak tester. Okay, my friends, this is the process to do the cylinder leak test. I hope you enjoyed that explanation. And now we are going to do the procedure number 3, the vacuum test. The vacuum test is on the manifold. Yes, in all the gasoline engines, inboard or outboards, in the manifold you have a fitting. Normally the fitting is similar to this one, exactly like this, and you can connect the vacuum gauge. It's a gauge designed to work with negative pressure, vacuum, and the hose is connected directly here, and we are going to read the vacuum, of course, with the engine is running and the butterfly of the TBI in idle, close, and we are going to read the vacuum when the flap is completely open at wide open throttle. And we are going to check according with the manufacturer specification how much is the reading. My friend, the reading in each engine is different. For that reason, if you have the information related with how much is the vacuum in idle and how much is the vacuum at wide open throttle, that's perfect. If you don't have the information, don't try to do this procedure because you don't know how much should be in idle, how much should be in wide open throttle. Alright, normally, let me explain. There are 3 types of vacuum in gasoline engines, a vacuum, ported vacuum and a venturi vacuum. Alright, the most common is the manifold vacuum, the the majority of the shops, they have the gauge, the hose, and it's simple. Connect that hose into the feeding, into this feeding, in order to read the vacuum when the engine is in idle and when the engine is in wide open throttle. If you don't have information, be careful, because the reading is indication of nothing. Alright, normal manifold vacuum on an engine at idle is around 18 and 20 inches of mercury. The majority of the gauge, they have in the inner ring the measurement in psi, in the outer in inches of mercury, or vice versa. This is the typical gauge for vacuum, and it's simple. You connect the hose, you start the engine, you let the engine in idle, and you verify how much is the vacuum. You accelerate and you verify how much is the vacuum in wide open throttle. All right. If the vacuum is not according with the recommendation of the manufacturer, you have leaks, and you need to verify where are the leaks. Normally those leaks are in the gasket where the intake manifold is located, in the gasket in between the intake manifold and the head, the intake ports of the head. Normally those gaskets, they have a rubber or rings in order to avoid leaks. Those leaks are critical, my friend, especially in the analysis of the idle. If you have problem in idle, or if you have a problem to reach wide open throttle, this is probably an indication that you have leaks on the intake manifold. And 100% sure that you have a check engine light activated with the code related with the throttle, with the map sensor and MAF sensor, both of them. And it's probably because you have a leak. And also probably you have a problem with the actuator on the wastegate if you have a diesel engine, because the wastegate, remember, the actuator receives the signal, pneumatic signal, from the map sensor. If the map sensor is erratic because you have leaks of air, you affect the performance of the turbo, and you affect the idle in that diesel engine again. My friend, especially in outboards, the vacuum is critical, because remember, in outboards, the intake manifold mixed the air, the oil, and the fuel. If the vacuum is not perfect, the suction and the mixture is not appropriate, and the performance of the engine change dramatically. Yes, for outboards, two-stroke engines, the vacuum test is very, very important. Some people are more familiarized with that technique. Other people prefer only the compression test or only the cylinder leak test. I recommend that you practice. If you have your engine, practice with those three techniques, and verify the results according with the manufacturer, according with the book. Check the book, check the manufacturer. Today is simple because you can download the service manual of your engine easily, and with that information you can verify if in the real life is according with the procedure. All right, this is the procedure to check problems in the combustion chamber. In the next episode, we are going to analyze the spark plugs, and we are going to analyze the color of the smoke, and we are going to analyze the performance of the engine according with the condition of the spark plug and the color of the smoke.